Hi, I'm Captain Whitaker, and welcome to Ethics for Professional Law Enforcement. The purpose of this training is to address and introduce principles of professional and ethical conduct in law enforcement community. Law enforcement has traditionally been a pedestal profession. Society generally expects law enforcement personnel to exemplify right and moral conduct. Citizens fail to realize officers are chosen from the general public, that they are just human beings and are subject to all of the human emotions and weaknesses. In law enforcement, we are now called on to do more than interpret and enforce criminal law. Not only does the public expect officers to perform professionally, they also expect law enforcement to address issues that in the past would have been considered the job of other social service agencies. The ability to make sound and ethical decisions is necessary now more than ever. To address these issues, law enforcement officers need additional training, not only in the academic field of law, but also in socializing into the law enforcement profession. The terms morals and ethics in our daily conversations are used interchangeably. However, the terms refer to different things. Morals are principles of right and wrong. Ethics is the discipline of determining good and evil and defining moral duties. People are thought of as moral in character or doing unethical deeds. Regardless of terms used, what we are referring to is an individual's behavior and how it affects others. The great professions have long recognized the importance of subscribing to and living by rules of official conduct for their membership. The most noteworthy has been the Hippocratic Oath, written sometime before 1400 BC. This oath is still taken by practicing physicians today. The American Bar Association subscribes to rules of professional conduct. These rules guide attorneys in ethically handling complex situations. These associations have been of disciplining the unethical elements in their professions. Likewise, the law enforcement professions has rules of official conduct. These codes of ethics for law enforcement are laid out through the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics, Canons of Police Ethics, Law Enforcement Oath of Honor, Law Enforcement Code of Conduct, and your department's written and unwritten policies and procedures. Let's talk about some causes of behavior that's considered unethical. There are four common drivers for an unethical behavior. They are noble cause corruption, the blue curtain, slippery slope, and Mama Rosa's test. Noble cause corruption is the rationalization that the end of crime fighting justifies the means that might otherwise be illegal, unethical, and or against the rules or regulations. For example, lying on an affidavit or on the witness stand or planting evidence. The two most frequently given factors for the noble cause corruption are the belief that legal technicalities made the job impossible to do, and the belief that the offender was guilty. The noble cause in noble cause corruption is the police officer's profound moral commitment to make the world a safer place to live. This leads some officers to improperly subvert their public service role in favor of their crime fighting role and do whatever it takes to get an offender off the street, even if it means displaying dishonesty. For example, making up facts on an affidavit to justify a warrant or to establish probable cause. The blue curtain, or the code of silence. How this usually develops is an officer makes a mistake and it could be reasonable. Instead of reporting the incident, a co-worker covers for the officer that made the mistake. The officer who made the mistake feels indebted and trapped in a situation where he or she thinks he or she must do the same. Even if the officer who made the mistake would have told the truth initially, the officer who covered up has lied, and therefore the officer who made the mistake cannot bring himself or herself to sacrifice the loyal officer by telling the truth. The community of police work and resultant camaraderie of police officers are important sources of positive support for the officers and their families. However, the negative side of the support system can be a misguided sense of interpersonal loyalty that overlooks or even covers up misdeeds and wrongdoing and transforms mutual support into mutual protectionism. When an officer instinctively tends to focus on protecting his or her co-workers rather than on the wrong that has been done, he or she is abdicating his or her personal or professional responsibility as a peace officer. The slippery slope and the Mama Rosa's test. Once an officer engages in minor illegal or corrupt behavior, greater levels of corruption become easier to perform. The officer has learned how to rationalize illegal and inappropriate behavior and can rationalize more serious wrongdoing, especially when grafting subcultures exist in the department to socialize new officers into corrupt activities. Some may see the acceptance of gratuities as of little consequence. However, sometimes the acceptance of gratuities can be a ritual indoctrination used by those grafting subcultures for more insidious purposes, which leads into the Mama Rosa's test. A new recruit and his or her training officer are eating at Mama Rosa's cafe. Soon they are joined by other officers. At the end of the meal, they prepare to leave. The rookie has his or her money in his or her hand and asks how much he or she should leave. The veterans tell the rookie to shut up and put your money away. It seems the cops have been eating free forever and the place has never been held up, unlike other restaurants in the neighborhood. Mama Rosa is very appreciative of this. The rookie insists that he or she wants to pay for the meal, but he or she is told to shut up and not jeopardize a good thing. Now here's the test. If the rookie doesn't go along with the officers at Mama Rosa's, the rookie won't be trusted as a team player and he or she loses any rapport with the veteran officers. If the rookie goes along, he or she is just as guilty as the others, and the next step will be for the rookie to prove himself or herself in the field. This might include exaggerating testimony or backing up another officer in court that makes an honest mistake by supporting his or her partner's version of the events. This is how it happens: a test at the restaurant, then a test in the field. Now we're going to discuss the 6 major groups of unethical behavior in law enforcement. They are graft bribery and classic corruption, process corruption, brutality and excessive force, on-duty unprofessional conduct, workplace deviance, and off-duty unprofessional conduct. Graft, bribery, and classic corruption. This occurs when an officer uses his or her position for personal benefit in the form of cash, property, sex, drugs, food, or preferred assignment. It can be consensual, whereby both parties, such as a police officer and a store owner, willingly enter into the transaction, or it can be extortionate, as in a shakedown scenario, for example, stealing cash and drugs from a criminal. Process corruption. This occurs when the officer interferes with the process of gathering and presenting evidence. Common examples are searching without a warrant, lying in court, withholding evidence that supports the accused, and coercing arrested people into confession. Brutality and excessive force. This occurs when law enforcement uses more force than is necessary to meet the threat. On duty unprofessional conduct. This covers miscellaneous conduct that is directed toward the public but where there is no clear benefit to law enforcement. Examples include inaction on calls for assistance from the public, racial and sexual discrimination, and negligent treatment of victims of crime or persons in custody. Workplace deviance. This occurs when law enforcement directs harassment and racial or sexual discrimination at colleagues, cronyism and nepotism in promotion and assignments, and use of drugs or alcohol while on duty. Off-duty unprofessional conduct. This occurs when law enforcement officers engage in behavior in their personal lives that reflects poorly on the department and the profession of law enforcement. Examples include fighting and drunk driving. In this block of instruction, we have discussed definitions and concepts of ethics, morals, duty, and professionalism. We have reviewed and discussed the long-established parameter of the law enforcement profession in the Code of Ethics. Understanding these concepts and understanding that law enforcement has strict parameters in which to work, we have discussed specific dilemmas. There are many choices for action. It is each officer's responsibility to evaluate all the choices and then take the action which is morally and ethically correct. New law enforcement officers must socialize themselves into the law enforcement profession. Always be mindful of the parameters set by the Code of Ethics, and remember the commitments you made through your oath of office. Ethical and moral dilemmas present themselves every day on duty and off duty. Through awareness, understanding, and your professional commitment, you should have a sounder basis for making good decisions. If anyone has any questions, feel free to call me at extension 7287, or you can contact me by email. Thank you.